Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on Cobblers Vlogs. We're back with another opposition view. This could be a very depressing opposition view because at the end of it I'm going to tell you that the Cobblers could be relegated on Saturday afternoon by Saturday's opponents. It's Gillingham. We travelled to Kent to play the Gills in, well, we're not going to have to go into that stupid no-roof stand that I've never been in, never want to go in the away end. So that's probably the only good thing about it. So yeah, I've got Lewis standing alongside me. Lewis is a journalist, does loads of kind of stuff to do with the Gills and around Kent, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But first of all, Lewis, lockdown restrictions started to ease. We're starting to get a bit of freedom. Have you been out to have a pint yet, or are you still kind of staying fairly at home most of the time?
No, to be fair, I don't drink, so I don't really have that much of a desire to go to the pub. But I'm off out tomorrow for a lunch with my friends after uni, so that should be decent. Been meeting up with my girlfriend a little bit outside as well, so that's good. But you know, the further we go along, hopefully, the more we'll be allowed to do, and it'll be back to normal sooner rather than later.
Absolutely, and you know, fair play, getting out and you know, trying to enjoy ourselves as well is what we've got to do, and hopefully we'll be back watching, for us, probably League Two football next season. For you, it could even be Championship football, and we'll probably get into what you think of that next year, but probably more likely to be League One. Let's start there then with Gillingham. Let's have just a quick chat about your season so far. We'll come to talk about the reverse fixture between the two teams a little bit later on. But you know, you seem pretty bad in that first reverse fixture. We obviously won that one 3-1. But before we get into that, let's just talk to us about your season so far. How's it been going for the Gills?
I think it's pretty similar to last season, really. We had a bit of a slow start. We lost quite a lot of our squad in the summer because of finances. I think probably a lot of neutral fans as well know the whole story with Bristol Rovers in terms of they poached Max Amer and Brandon Hanlon off us, which, you know, Steve Evans and Paul Rain and the management team wanted to keep both on board, but we were sort of outbidded contract-wise. Little bit of a different story between the two players, but that's football. So yeah, we lost a lot of our squad. It was a bit of a rebuilding process. Steve has admitted since then that he got the balance of the squad wrong, and we had a bit of a slow start. First 4 games we were decent, and then back end of last year we had a run where we lost 5 in a row, and it was looking really, really bad. But in January, we made signings. We brought in the likes of Ollie Lee, Callum Slattery, who's unfortunately since got injured. Stuart O'Keefe returned from a broken leg, which he suffered earlier on in the season. It's picked up from them. I think if I mean, I've not seen the table, but I think if the season started in January, we'd probably be in the playoffs pretty comfortably by now, but it doesn't. It's been a season of 2 halves. You never know, something could come of it yet, but a little bit of frustration, but it's been a good season nonetheless, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's probably fair to say that Gillingham probably are definitely not a League Two club, and probably definitely not a Championship club. And League One is kind of the place where you're expecting to be. You're not sat here thinking, "Oh, we're punching miles above our weight" or anything. So it's interesting that you know, it's been, because looking at the way you played this season, in terms of just your numbers, it looks like a very average kind of mid-table season. Although you are in ninth, you know, the fact you've won 1 more game than you've lost, you've had 8 draws, you know, you've scored 2 more goals and you've conceded. It all just screams kind of very mid-table. Let's talk about how you've got into that position. Obviously, Steve Evans is your manager, known for a very different style of play, very possibly similar to what Keith Curl was trying to do. More probably last year with us than this year in terms of bullying teams and getting at them. And your front 2 bullying us is something that I think will definitely probably happen on Saturday. But just talk to us about Steve Evans and kind of what's caused all this controversy, because I think from looking the outside in, it comes when you play these big clubs that seem to have a problem with your play style, like your Hulls, your Sunderlands and all of that, because they seem to have this kind of big club mentality in League One, which I seem to kind of find quite unbearable, and they can't take being beaten like clubs like yourselves, like us. So just anyway, I'll stop waffling. Tell us about Steve Evans and the controversy he's caused.
Well, I think Steve Evans is a bit of a character in football anyway, really. Everyone knows about how sort of active he is on the touchline, how passionate he is. I think if you watch any Gillingham game or any game where he's managed a previous club, you can just hear him screaming. I think all the games we've watched on iFollow, you can just hear him bellowing from the touchline. And trust me, being in the stadium as well with no fans, you can just hear Steve Evans the whole game. But people have their opinions on Steve Evans. And yeah, like you say, his play style, It's a weird one because I think people sort of get confused for it being very long ball, and obviously in League One you don't really see much tiki-taka football, and teams like Crewe and MK Dons that try and play it, look at the league table, they're not exactly barking up any trees. And I think Crewe played them earlier on this season at home, and we tore them apart with our high press when they were trying to play out. So he's versatile. He can sit, he can have a low block if he wants to. He can press high. In terms of on the ball, yeah, I think it can be long ball if we want to. Obviously, we play Verdane Oliver, who Northampton fans know well. I think he's the best aerial player in the league by a long shot. I think the stats back that up. John Akinde is no slouch in the air either. In terms of set pieces, obviously we have Ryan Jackson, who can put in a very decent long throw. So, Evans' style of plays, he can pass it about if he wants to, but it's normally sort of get crosses in the box via Jordan Graham, via the fullbacks, get long throws in. Any free kick within about 50 yards of the goal will be going in the box. Be aiming for Oliver, Cundy, Tucker, Akinde, Samuel, whoever's on the pitch. I think it's quite exciting, to be honest. Obviously, like you say, it's not pretty all the time. When it doesn't work, it can be very frustrating. But I think they just want to get balls in the box as much as possible. And like you said, the likes of Hull. I mean, we know Luke quite well. Luke Flanagan, obviously a Hull fan who was on here on this show when you played Hull, and he was a bit frustrated with Steve Evans after that game. And I know he had it out with a few Gillingham fans on Twitter. I'm going to have to say 2 seconds because someone's shouting at me. I'm really sorry.
No worries, mate. No problem. Just having a look through the comments. Adam Page said, "Let's pray that Verdane Oliver isn't fit," and we're going to find out all about that on Saturday afternoon. And it sounds, Adam, I know we'll get kind of Lewis's take on this because I know he goes to press conferences and stuff like that. But it sounds, Adam, like Verdane Oliver probably is going to be fit, which could be very worrying. Lewis is back. Continue telling us about Steve Evans. No worries, mate. No worries. Talk to us about Steve Evans and you were saying about the whole game.
Sorry, yeah, my dad was shouting my name. But yeah, the whole game, obviously, it was a weird one, really, because we drew the game and we could have won it right at the end. We hit the post from a corner, and I think, like you say, teams like Hull and Sunderland, I don't know if they feel like they have a right to be in a higher division, but they don't like getting beaten and sort of competing, really, against teams like Gillingham and Northampton. So yeah, teams like that. I know Oxford fans aren't the biggest fans of Steve Evans either, but my team on the pitch is getting us to play exciting football, in my opinion, and we're getting decent results. In another year we could be in the playoffs by now, and I'm happy with how it's going so far. I like Steve as well. I don't want to go on about how I'm a journalist or whatever, but I like him. I think off the pitch, when you see him, he's really nice. On the pitch, he's a warrior. He's a winner. He wants to win. He'll have it out with every manager. I'm sure on Saturday, your manager will have they'll want earplugs in the for Fisher as always. But off the pitch, he's a nice guy. But yeah, I'm enjoying his reign so far personally.
And it sounds like the only thing we can kind of compare it to is like a little bit of a dumbed down version of Keith Curle. Really, really passionate about what he's doing and the way he works. And then off the pitch, Keith Curle, I never got to meet him, but what I've heard is he was a really nice guy and very similar to Steve Evans. And there's probably a lot of managers that are like that. I mean, Steve Evans, we can't be the biggest fans of him. He was a Peterborough manager, so you obviously know all about that and the rivalry there. So fair to say he wasn't. I'm trying to think of a word without swearing here, but he wasn't the nicest of people on the touchline at London Road when we played them. So at the moment you are sat pretty. What I would snap your hand off to be in ninth at the minute, which is obviously where you guys are placed. You've got 62 points. You are 3 points behind Portsmouth and Oxford, who are in 7th and 8th above you, and then 4 points behind Charlton, who occupy that last playoff place. Obviously, you've only got 3 games left to play. One of those is obviously Saturday. Do you think you can get into the playoffs? Is that a realistic ambition for you guys to end the season?
I don't think so. I think, with all due respect to the teams we've got left to play, I think the last 3 games are winnable. Obviously, yourselves are probably the toughest game we've got left, to be honest, because you're fighting for your lives. In terms of league position, though, obviously, you're not up there. But the other 2 teams, Burton and Plymouth, sort of neither team have really got anything to play for anymore. By the time we get to that point, we might not either. But, if we win every game, we'll end up on 71. Probably not going to be enough, I don't think, especially with teams above us still with games in hand. We've sort of been ahead of the curve for a while, which has been the frustrating thing. I think it was Wigan we beat a couple of weeks ago, and we went into the top 6 for a brief period before, because we played a couple of days before the other teams played, and we played on the Wednesday, and everyone else played on the Friday. But I think the loss against Oxford last week was sort of the final nail in the coffin. We were 2-0 up, bossing it for 75 minutes, by far the better team, and we just collapsed and we lost 3-2. I think that was sort of the final nail in the coffin for our playoff hopes. I mean, like you say, it's not impossible. It could still happen. 71 points would get you in the playoffs in a few recent years in League One. One that springs to mind is Chesterfield, I think, finished on 69 and they came 6th. So it's not impossible, probably unlikely, but, all we can do is win our games and sort of see where it takes us.
It seems like you're in a pretty much roles reverse position to us, as in you guys are 4 points off the playoffs. You kind of, it doesn't really matter, to be fair. I don't think to you guys, if you don't get in the playoff, you're not going to be upset and crying about it. Whereas we're 4 points 4 points away from being safe, and it means everything to us to actually get above that dotted line. So I can imagine you're probably feeling a lot less nervous going into the last few games of the season, but you never know. The final day could come around. There could be kind of a point between 4 teams, and you never know what can happen. That's what football does to us. Let's talk about the reverse fixture then, which was back in December, towards the end of December. We were completely shocked. You guys kind of came here as that mid-table team at the time. Maybe that was when your kind of bad run of form was, and you didn't look great in that game. I think we were on top for most of it. I think you guys kind of had a spell that we kind of just weathered out the storm, so to speak. So just talk to us about that reverse fixture. What kind of went wrong for you guys there, or what maybe went so right for us?
Yeah, I remember it very fondly. I remember sitting at home watching it on iFollow, as us fans have obviously done throughout this year. And with all due respect to yourselves, again, you sort of look at a team like Northampton being in the position where you were, and I sort of thought, this is a game we want to be winning, really. It didn't happen at all. We didn't get close, to be honest. It could have been more than it was. I think, is it 3-1, 3-0, something like that?
3-1, yeah.
3-1. I remember being very disappointed. Like I say, Steve Evans' style of football, when it doesn't work, it can be very frustrating. I guess it was that battle you spoke about earlier with sort of Steve Evans and Keith Curle being pretty similar, and it didn't really work out for us. We fell 3-1. That was, like I say, before the turn of the year, we were pretty disappointing, pretty underwhelming. I think that was sort of just before the turn of the year in the January window. We had issues in defence, which was sorted out with Robbie Cundy coming in, which is someone I didn't mention earlier, but he's helped our defence a lot. And we had issues there. I don't think Steve really knew his best team. So I like to think we're a different side since then. But yeah, the reverse fixture wasn't our proudest moment of the season.
And talk to us about how you've been doing recently. You mentioned your Oxford defeat was kind of the nail in the coffin. Thank you very much for going and beating Posh 1-0 on Tuesday night, by the way. That was very much appreciated. And then before, so obviously last time out you beat Posh 1-0. Before that, it was the loss to Oxford, and before that you drew to Shrewsbury. And those probably two results, the Oxford and Shrewsbury ones, probably what cemented it for you. How have you been playing recently? Are you in kind of, because I watched Matt's video from Gills and the Blood, and he said that you're in very good home form and we're in dreadful away form. So just talk to us about that.
Yeah, the home form's been decent. Apart from that sort of run that I mentioned earlier on, when we had 5 defeats in a row, it's been pretty good. We had the 1-0 win against Wigan just before Easter, which I referred to earlier, and that's the result that put us in the top 6 for 48 hours or so. And we were in good form then, and we went into a game away at Blackpool, the 5th of April, according to my notes. And I think that was one where we sort of thought, right, this is the moment. Blackpool flying. I think we were 2 of the form teams in the division, and they were sort of, obviously now they're well in the playoffs. And I think, I wouldn't bet against them winning it, to be honest. But we went away to Bloomfield Road, and I sort of think this was the game that the team should have been up for. I don't know if they were up for it. I don't know what happened, obviously, behind the scenes, but we went 1-0 down. Jordan Graham equalised to make it 1-1. We thought, right, we're in a game. And then Blackpool showed their class. They ran away with it 4-1. That was a sort of dagger to the heart, because we sort of lost against a playoff rival, and then drawing against Shrewsbury 5 days later. That was frustrating at Priestfield, ironically, where our form is good. But That sort of like left us clinging on, maybe needing to win every remaining game, maybe get a point from one, maybe afford to lose one. Obviously, the situation we're in now is very thin opportunities. But then we lost against Oxford, and that was the final nail in the coffin. Steve Evans, I think he has a way with words. He likes to manipulate the media, isn't the right word, but he likes to come across in a certain way to sort of paint a picture of his team and their status and the way people view his team. But that was the moment where he said, like, we're done. Obviously, we're not officially done. It looks like that. But yeah, 2-0 up against Oxford. Dane Oliver and Robbie Cundy on the score sheet, bossed it for 75 minutes. Oxford get a goal, and I thought, to be honest, there's only one way this is going now, and they score very late on into stoppage time. Gills fans not the happiest, but then we went to Peterborough on Tuesday. Didn't expect anything, expected a hiding, to be honest. Peterborough a good side at home. We were 1-0 up against them at half time, and then they switched on in the second half and we lost 3-1. We did have to ride our luck at times, a couple of balls where it didn't necessarily fall for them. They hit the bar from a volley on the edge of the box, but we got the goal. We defended well. We were well worth our win. So we come into the game off the back of a positive win. Obviously, a bit mixed emotions for you guys because you don't like Peterborough, but at the same time, I suppose you would have rather we went into the game in poor form. But we had a good win on Tuesday. And yeah, we're sort of clinging on by the edge of our teeth. I don't know if that's the same, but we're clinging on to playoff hopes, but unlikely. But hopefully we can put on a good show on Saturday.
Here we go then, Cobblers fans. This is the bit that you've all been waiting for. If you're not leaving a like on the video for this, then I don't even know why you're here, to be honest. Lewis, Dane Oliver, we've got to talk about him. Obviously, he was one of our playoff heroes last year. We signed him. I'll just talk you through how kind of we viewed him. We signed him, and we were kind of like Morecambe, really. Looked at his kind of goal ratio and games to goals or goals to games or whatever, however you want to look at it. And it was pretty poor. It was something like 20 goals in 100 or 200 and whatever it was. It wasn't the best record. And he came here and we then kind of saw, well, yeah, we probably can see why he's not been scoring goals because he works hard for the ball, he wins every header, all this kind of stuff. And then obviously he was fairly just like, one of them graphs that's kind of just like this, very up and down for us. And then he came back to the playoffs and was unbelievable in them and played really well in them. And then he left in the summer, and it was very similar to when we sold Aaron Pierre a few years ago. We were kind of like, he left and we kind of went, Gillingham. Gillingham, really? What is it? No disrespect to you guys at all, but first of all, who wants to play for Steve Evans? Second of all, what's more attractive about Gillingham in terms of the stadium? The kind of infrastructure, all that stuff that's probably more attractive than us. And the thing it kind of came down to is that either A, we couldn't afford to keep him. Well, it's kind of all the same thing. We couldn't afford to keep him, and you guys simply offered him a better contract, and now he's doing quite well for you. So yeah, we're kind of very mixed feelings, I think, with us, because there was obviously some of our fan base that rate him, some of us that maybe didn't rate him, and some that were kind of like, yeah, I'm glad he went, and some that are kind of like me, kind of going, why did we let him go to Gillingham? If we'd gone to Sunderland or Hull or somewhere like that, I'd go, okay, yeah, we probably had no chance of keeping him. But what do you think, maybe before we get into how he's been for Gillingham, what do you think brought him to Gillingham in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your guys' financial situation is, and I don't know really what our financial situation is. I mean, we're not loaded. I don't know what sort of money Dane's on, but maybe he wanted to move to a more secure League One club. I'm not sure. I think the aim for you guys coming up was always going to be to survive. Gillingham after last season, like I said, Steve has a way with words in the media, but he maintained that if the season did carry on last year, we would have ended up in the top 6. We probably wouldn't, but you never know. So maybe he just wanted a more secure League One club. Maybe, he does know Steve Evans' style of play. Obviously, he's got the best out of him, which we'll come on to, like you say. But maybe he was sort of, excited by that, I guess you could say. And maybe that was why. I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
We've got Jason Rodhouse. I told you we split opinion. He's saying here, lazy player, glad to get rid of him. And I've spoken to Jake Tong as well. He's a Lincoln fan and good friend of ours who said Lincoln were glad to get rid of him too. So he's obviously split opinion when kind of wherever he's been. Talk to us about how he's been for you. Obviously, he's I've no idea if he is the top scorer. I don't think he is. I'm just going to quickly get the page up now. He is the ninth top goal scorer in the league with 15 goals. How has he been for you guys?
Yeah, I'm shocked to see that comment, to be fair, because he's the opposite of a lazy player, really. I mean, obviously, I don't know if he sort of gave off that vibe when he was at other clubs, but Steve seems to have got the best out of him. He's constantly running. We've all seen the stats from D3, D4 football that he's won the most aerial duels. Speaking to him on a number of occasions, he takes a lot of pride in his aerial work. But he's developed over the season to become a complete striker, really. He's got a lot of confidence. You can see from the finish against Oxford, the goal against Peterborough, second one, against Ipswich a month or two ago. He's playing with confidence. He's enjoying his football. He didn't start brightly, but obviously it seems like the closer he's been working with Steve, the better he's been doing, really. I think there was a period, because obviously he got the Player of the Month award in League One for March. He scored 8 goals in the month, and there's a period before that I remember saying to my dad, like, the one attacking player really that could do with a goal was Dane Oliver, and then he didn't really stop, and he hasn't stopped since. Scored in his last appearance. He missed the Peterborough game with a calf injury. Scored against Oxford. He's got 18 now in all competitions, which is more than anyone expected. I think people expected him to come in and sort of be that target man with perhaps John Akinde or later on Dominic Samuel to be the one to get the goals, but he's played on his own for a lot of the season. He's been partnering John Akinde or Ollie Lee up front more recently, but in a 4-2-3-1, he's been playing on his own. And we've literally just been getting the best out of him. I think he's playing with confidence. He takes a lot of pride in his aerial ability. I don't know how he does it. It's not like he's massive. He's 6'3" maybe. He'll run from nowhere, get a flick on. He's obviously a threat from, like I say, the crosses. He's got a brilliant relationship with Jordan Graham on and off the pitch, who plays on the right for us and will sort of try and hit the ball on every opportunity. And, like I say, those crosses, those set pieces, those long throws. I think we just suit his strengths, and he's playing with confidence. He likes the fans, he likes the manager, and I think that's sort of showing in how he's performing.
I told you split opinion here. Adam Page just said immense for us. Very disappointed that he chose to leave. Wouldn't have got promotion without him, in Adam's opinion. And Jason Rodhouse says opposite of any Andy Williams, who obviously kind of went for everything. And Luke FC follows on to Adam's point, saying about Callum Morton up there with him, kind of Oliver winning that aerial duels, and then Morton kind of making these runs behind him, sort of thing that worked. Jason saying lack of effort, no confidence. Tom Goodrich says, Adam, I agree so much. Best player along with Harry in the playoffs. And yeah, he was. I think he was a revelation in the playoffs compared to how he was throughout kind of the rest of the season, where he was very kind of like this. And I can see where Jason's coming from. Definitely, there were elements where maybe you could say that he lacked that effort and was a bit lazy, but there was also some times where he would just come and turn it on out of nowhere. The biggest question, though, last one about him: is he going to be fit for Saturday? It sounds like he is.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned already, you never know with Steve what actually happens. He said today he's trained, and if he has no reaction, he should be fit. It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, if he didn't change it, because I think John Akinde had a good game against Peterborough, playing in front of Ollie Lee. But then at the same time, he's your top scorer. He's touching 20 goals. Oliver's going to want 20 goals for the season. He did play in his last. He did score in his last game, so I think he'll be fit. He'll be involved. I don't know if he'll start, but I know he'll be up for it if he's involved. That's for sure.
Okay, and some of the other, you kind of mentioned them before, some of the other men to look out for. I've got Kyle Dempsey written down here in midfield, John Akinde up front, who I think probably would work well with Oliver. Jordan Graham as well is another one, and Alex McDonald in midfield. Talk to us about, them four, and then if there's anyone else that maybe stands out that we should be keeping an eye on for Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, man, I'm not going to say our whole team is someone to look out for, because obviously we're sort of up on the table at the minute, but we've got a pretty settled team, sort of a 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2. Our back five is settled. Bonham, Jackson with the long throws, Tucker and Cundy in centre back have formed a decent partnership, and Connor Ogilvie as well on the left. Stuart O'Keefe, I mentioned earlier on, has been very helpful since he's come back from a broken leg in the middle of the pitch with captain Kyle Dempsey. And then it's normally Graham and McDonald out wide with Oliver, and then either Akinde next to him or Ollie Lee just off him. Kyle Dempsey is a brilliant player. He's sort of come in the summer, and I think a lot of our fans thought we were lucky to get him, and I maintain that. He's been our captain. He's not a vocal captain next to Stuart O'Keefe on the pitch. Stuart O'Keefe normally does most of the talking, most of the arguing, most of getting involved. Kyle Dempsey sort of leads the way with his professionalism, and he's spoken about how he wanted to get back to being that goal scorer midfielder, which he's done this season. I think he's sort of getting towards double figures now. 8 goals, 5 assists I've got written down. Jordan Graham, I don't know if teams are starting to work him out, but I said he's got a great relationship with Oliver. He's on our penalties. He'll play on the right, he'll play on the left, probably start on the right. He literally tries to hit the byline at any given opportunity. He'll do this footwork, but he will get to the byline, he'll put a cross in. So you can expect to see that a lot on Saturday. Alex McDonald's pretty much a workhorse on the other side. John Akinde is a frustrating one. He splits opinion between fans. He can sometimes look like he's not putting the effort in, sort of what some of your fans are saying about Verdane Oliver. But when he gets on the ball, he's been around for a long time in the Football League and just below it. And I think the neutrals know what John Akinde's about, be strong when those legs get moving. He's quick, he's powerful, and he's got some quality on the ball. He got a good assist on Tuesday night for Conor Ogilvy's goal. It's just about getting those legs going and getting him working. So sort of get him going. I think in terms of people to look out for, Oliver, Graham, and Kyle Dempsey, depending on where he plays. If he does play in the 4-2-3-1, he might not get forward as much, but in the 4-4-2, he's the sort of one bursting forward from midfield to be a goal threat. So I think I've said to a lot of people for previews I've done this year, Oliver, Graham, Dempsey, they're probably the 3 I'd keep an eye on.
Well, Cobblers fans, this is the depressing bit. I mentioned it at the start of the show, and we're going to just touch on it at the end here. The fact that we could be relegated on Saturday afternoon. And I know that is probably the first time some of you that watching may have heard that, and it's probably come as a bit of a shock to you. We could be relegated on Saturday afternoon. And here's how. The short line is basically if Portsmouth, what about Portsmouth? If Wigan and AFC Wimbledon both win and we lose on Saturday afternoon, that will relegate us. I'm not going to kind of do if we win and they draw and they lose, and that I'm not going to go through all of that because I haven't got the time and I'm rubbish at maths. Lewis saw me at the start. I couldn't add 3 onto 43. So that's kind of where we're at. But just to give you those kind of at the bottom, so Bristol Rovers are bottom on 38 points. So they are 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. I could have worked that out, couldn't I? They are 9 points adrift. So they have to win every game and hope that every other team pretty much loses every game as well. So it's pretty likely that they'll be relegated on Saturday afternoon. Swindon Town on 40. I think it'd probably take a miracle for them to stay up. Rochdale are on 42 and we're on 43. So it's kind of between us, Wigan and Rochdale, I think, for that last playoff place. Wimbledon have played 42, so they've got a game in hand. So I think it's pretty likely that they'll stay up. And if you look at the form of Wigan and Wimbledon, it's loss, win, 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 loss, win, 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 win. So they're both in good form. So it's not looking good. I'll stop waffling on in a minute. Here are the fixtures to look out for, though. Portsmouth are playing Bristol Rovers, so I think we'd expect a Portsmouth win and a Bristol Rovers relegation. Fingers crossed. Crewe against Rochdale. Crewe on the beach, so you never know what's going to happen with that. If Crewe really are on the beach, Bristol Rovers. So Rochdale could get themselves a win there. Gillingham obviously play ourselves. Gillingham going for the playoffs, sort of. And then we've got Ipswich versus AFC Wimbledon. And Cobblers fans saw how poor Ipswich were against us the other week. And Ipswich only played Wimbledon, not the Tuesday just gone, the Tuesday before that. So a quick turnaround for them. So hopefully Ipswich will want revenge or something and can beat Wimbledon. And then MK Dons play Swindon. MK Dons as well, just looking at the table, they're only a point behind Gillingham. So probably very unlikely that they'll get into the playoffs. So hopefully a win for MK Dons there. Not that I can't believe I just said that. And then we've got Wigan versus Burton. Obviously Burton, they're safe. They were safe ages ago. They're on the beach. So we need Burton to win there as well. And Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's probably going to send us down for the second time. So it's all very difficult. But essentially, if we lose and Wigan and Wimbledon win, I think that's pretty much. I think if we drop points at all on Saturday, that's probably going to all but confirm it if it's not mathematically confirmed. Lewis, bearing all of that in mind, and if you even kind of manage to compute any of that and take any of that in, how do you think this Saturday is going to go? What type of game are you expecting? And then give us a score prediction, please.
Yeah, to be fair, I think I said earlier on, I think this is going to be our toughest game that we've got left. Obviously, you've just gone through the table. Like you say, I think Bristol Rovers and Swindon are pretty much down now. I think it's going to be 2 out of yourselves, Rochdale, Wimbledon, and Wigan. I think we're probably gonna stay up. They were decent at our place, since the new manager's gone in, they've done pretty well. And Wimbledon frustrate me as well, but it looks like they're going to be okay as well. So I do think it will probably be you guys and Rochdale. Unfortunately, it do go down. Obviously, I hope you don't go down, because obviously you're a good friend of mine, and obviously I like doing stuff on this channel as well. So hopefully you don't go down.
I'm tearing up.
Hopefully we can be in the same league next year, but at the same time, I want my team to win on Saturday, so I think we'll probably contribute to that. I can't have both ways. In terms of the match, I don't want to say we're on the beach. We've not got much to play for, but if there's a faint hope, we'll go for it. And I don't think Steve Evans is the sort of man to let it peter out, really. I think it'll be tough. I'm going to go with a 1-1, which might not be enough for yourselves. I think it'll be a physical game. Obviously, you guys have changed manager very recently as well, so I'm assuming there's still a little bit of Keith Curle left in there, but you've had some positive results lately. It's clear you're fighting for your lives. Obviously, you gave Ipswich a pretty decent showing recently as well. So yeah, not to be taken lightly. I think it'll be 1-1. I think it'll be a good point for us, to be honest, if we do get that 1-0, because obviously you guys are fighting.
Good stuff, and the nerves have really just kicked in for me, because I've just looked at the table, given it a second glance while you were talking there. Rochdale have played a game less than us, and they're a point behind us. So that is really worrying. And just looking at their running as well, it looks like they've got a nicer running than we have. I mean, ours is just awful. Gillingham, we play Blackpool next, which I can't see us getting anything out of, and we play Sunderland on the last day. So we're kind of praying that their fates are sorted before that. Rochdale play Crewe, obviously, at the weekend. They play Wimbledon as well. That could be a massive game. And they also play Doncaster and MK Dons, who are all teams that are pretty much on the beach. So, it's going to be really tough. I think we have to be realistic about that. I think we've always... I'm one of them. I don't think it's over until it's over, but you can tell by the way I'm speaking, I'm really struggling to think of a way that, or any kind of, any way of us staying up. So it's the hope that kills you. You bring your hopes up, and whenever you win, you think, we're going to get out of this, and then it just all comes crashing down. And I think I could talk for hours about this, because I think, and we're going to at the end of the season, if it does come down to the fact that we're going to be playing League Two football, there is a lot to be said, I think. So, and everybody in the chat knows that. Lewis probably knows that from an outside perspective. So yeah, Lewis, thank you very much for coming on. You're obviously doing a lot of stuff in terms of journalism, stuff like that. You obviously rock the same site as me. Just tell us kind of where we can find you and what you do.
Yeah, the best place to find me is probably on Twitter at Browning_Lewis_. I think that's my I can't remember. Something like that. So I'm championship editor at Vavel, which is obviously the same site you write for. Accredited as well. So I spent most of the season at Priestfield doing Gillingham games. Do a bit of cricket as well, been there all day today. But yeah, in terms of football, Gillingham home games, hopefully some away games next year when travelling's a little bit easier. I'll be there on Saturday. Check me out on Twitter if you want, updates from a sort of different perspective, so to speak, of the game. But yeah, cheers for having me on, Matt. Appreciate it as always, and hope you stay up. But obviously, I hope we win on Saturday as well.
Thank you very much. Well, I've got some good news for you. I've just got a notification. Kelechi Iheanacho has just scored for Leicester. It's Leicester 3, West Brom 0. So still absolutely buzzing. He's buzzing for his fantasy team. If you're not following me and Lewis on Twitter, we have a bit of back and forth with our fantasy teams. I'm absolutely miles behind him, by the way. Let's just put that out there. But it's good. I just like winding people up. That's what I do every day when I walk out the door. I go and wind people up. So why not take it on Twitter as well? So yeah, thanks very much for coming on, Lewis. A nice comment to end with. Luke NTFC is one of our regular viewers. Really nice guy. It said nice preview. Good luck with your journalism, Lewis, and I certainly echo that as well. So yeah, good stuff. And you know what the annoying thing is about that Leicester game is Vardy has scored and got an assist, and I took him out of my fantasy team this week, so I'm having an absolute shocker. Yeah, absolutely awful. So yeah, that's going to be it from us. Thank you very much to everybody who's watched this live. We've seen quite a few of you pop in and out. Thank you if you're watching this back as a video as well. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button to set off that YouTube algorithm. Make sure you go and read Lewis's match report as well after the game, and all his preview stuff as well, telling us why Steve Evans is the best manager in world football. So cool. Thanks very much to Lewis. Thanks to everybody who's watched. And until next time, we will see you all later. Bye-bye.